Welcome to real estate, the world's loneliest career, where you're always out of balance, unfulfilled, the role models are fake, the numbers unattainable, and you're just supposed to be and do it all. Join self-made millionaire real estate agents, wives, moms, and business owners as we level up, learn from special guests, and elevate and disrupt an entire industry through real education our way.
Hello and happy Tuesday. It's January 24th. I feel like I always need to date stamp these because it can be things are changing so fast. Seriously. I can't believe it's the end of January, by the way. But so the market is weird, which should be no surprise because it's been weird for the last 6 months, but I'm getting weirded out by some things that I'm seeing, which is people in my market saying that they're seeing multiple offers, saying that things are going at asking, if not a little bit above. People in some other markets saying that they're seeing multiple offers happening. I am not seeing that
anywhere, but people see it's down here, but I don't see it.
I'm not seeing it anywhere up here either. And I've been running the data, looking from, our lower priced homes all the way up to our higher priced homes. And I'm not seeing it either. But, I'm seeing agents post things like, there were 300 showings on this listing, all this activity, multiple offers. I mean, it's probably not 40 offers, but maybe 2 or 3. Right. I have not seen that, but I am hearing it from agents in my market and agents in other markets. And part of me has been thinking about this, and you tell me what you think. And if you're an agent in a market where you're seeing multiples right now, please comment in the chat because we'd love to ask you some questions. But part of me wonders if, so real estate is so subjective pricing wise. Over the years, I've had, clients ask me, I don't understand why you can have houses that are basically the exact same thing. Maybe this one has a gray kitchen and this one has a white kitchen, but for all intents and purposes, square footage, garage, especially in Colorado, we have a lot of kind of finger quotes track home builders where literally they're the same house. So many people have asked me over the years, why is it that house A, which is exactly the same as house B, can sell for dramatically more or dramatically less? Everyone who's watched this show or known me for 5 minutes knows that I'm pretty obsessed with data and statistics. And the only answer I've ever been able to give to that question is one real estate agent believed in a higher price or had the balls to ask for a higher price, and one did not. In years past, the agent that did not have the guts to ask for that higher price, it didn't get brought way up because of multiple offers. It just stayed where that agent priced it, right? Part of me wonders if what's happening with some of these houses that are going under contract really quick and with multiple offers is that those agents have underpriced those properties either on purpose, because we know that is a tactic, or by accident because they're afraid of what the market's been like the last 6 months.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree. I think looking at some data in one particular neighborhood that I know a lot about, considering I built the entire thing with Challenge. And I was looking at the prices that one particular model are going for. There is a difference of about $60,000 same house. And so, yeah, house went immediately because it was $60 less than the other one. They would be okay with leaving that amount of money on the table. I feel like that's going to be a massive liability in the future.
It's starting to really upset me.
Well, it's going to affect the whole nation, and not just neighborhoods next to it. The issue.
The whole market.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually starting to upset me, to be honest, because oh my God, I have so many thoughts on this. It's hard to not just like rant, but okay, so obviously we watch a lot of commentary that happens in the real estate space so that we know what to talk about here on the show weekly. And I've seen so many posts in the last like 7 days. I was even showing my mom and sister because it was so wild. A, with agents saying they're going to leave the business, and B, with agents, talking about the market, and all these posts with these agents who say they're going to leave the business, which is really sad, by the way. They're all saying, I can't live like this, and I don't think that things will ever return to normal. What happened the last 2 to 3 years is what is not normal. This is what is normal. And I don't understand how people, they're not getting that, right? And so then this week, as I'm seeing people post some things about higher showings and multiple offers and selling at asking or real close to it, everyone again is saying, oh, thank God, we're returning to normal. I just can't. I can't. Like, if you look at actual historical real estate data, the only abnormal period that you will see in historical market data is the last 2 to 3 years. That is what is not normal. Where we're sitting right now, to be on the market, 30 to 60 days is still considered a seller's market. That's what's considered normal. And to have people out there panic price reducing, or now maybe just listing by, like you said, $50,000 or $60,000 low just because they're afraid to sit on the market for 30 to 60 days. No, it's not good.
It's ridiculous. And I think the reason why it's happening is because for a lot of those agents that are now only known a market like that, because it's not the people that have been doing that getting out. It's the ones that are fairly new, last 3 to 5 years getting out. And unfortunately, this is, that crazy market is all seen. And so now that that's seen, now they're scared. This is totally normal. I mean, I'm seeing a lot more buyers jump, but
yeah, I have some statistics on that. We'll talk about that. But I mean, like what you just said is so true, because we know that NAR says that 90% of all agents have been licensed in periods in which they have never seen an interest rate above 4% and have never seen a house sit on the market longer than 30 days. So you're 1,000% correct. Literally almost 100% of real estate agents have never seen this before, even though this is what's normal. What they've seen is not normal. And I do believe that that's really influencing agents to either list really low or, reduce the price crazy fast. I'm not really sure how they're getting their clients to go along with that.
I don't know. I think that it's there's some, I don't want to say scare tactics, but there's information out there. Something that I heard the other day, listing appointment against another agent. We're going to list at this price, but we're going to drop it by 30. We don't get any offers in the first weekend because I feel like we're going to be way overpriced. We're wrong on our price. We have $1,000. I'm like, what? In a weekend? The first weekend? Like, why? Coming from? I feel like because they don't know, they're right to like hope that like, is your expectation setting for your seller, and if you great. But I feel like people and our market right now, and so they're to try to expectation that they've set, but I feel like it's ending badly because people are still at asking or under asking price, and they're going to look like idiots. And I feel like that's when you don't have value, you're going to drop the price. When you have, I think that's going to be a major issue for a lot.
I mean, it's really upsetting. I think it's hurting people's values. And I also think that beyond that, it's perpetuating this conversation about what is normal, and it's wrong. It's all wrong information. You know, to say to a seller what you just said, like, oh, we're going to drop the price X amount of days, you know, 3 days, 4 days, which I've seen all the time over the last 6 months on market, is not a solid strategy for selling a property for maximum value, which is your job as a listing agent, right? Unless the client, for some reason, has to be out of their property within a very specific amount of time and they have to be very aggressive. I mean, do these people not realize that, like, during the last recession, which I'm sorry, we are in a recession, some type, we're not in that, but we're in some type of recession. Do they not understand that houses, like, every day, all day long, like, very common, what was normal was to have them sit on the market for a year?
6 months to a year was normal.
I mean, try working in that kind of market, right? Like, you know, and I will say, as much venting as I'm doing, it has been a big shift. It is very uncomfortable to be explaining to your clients, you know, the differences when things are changing by the day. And that hard stop was really, that was tough. And it is, like, even for me, you know, it's difficult to wrap my head around because it went from one extreme to another, but that doesn't make sitting on the market for 30 to 45 days wrong. And that doesn't slam the value out of our houses. I just don't get it.
Right. I mean, if an agent comes to your home and says something, you don't really know where to price this house at, or here are the comps, I think we come in well below these. I think that's a red flag to you as a seller. Maybe this person doesn't quite understand the market that we're in, and maybe we should be looking for another agent. I think that right now it's really important as agents that are going in for a listing that you accurate data for, like, the minute, like, last 30 days. If you're up against somebody else that just doesn't have that data, you're going to stand out just with data right there that's going to set you above everybody else like that. I've been telling my clients to wait for a month so we can get more comp, before we list their house, to prove that their house is worth, because this is when our market starts to get busy, is, spring, basically like mid-February, June. Wait and put the house on the market mid-February, late February, and make it. But we need proof that the house is worth that first.
Yeah, I mean, it's really frustrating right now. I feel like it's it also makes the job for an agent who has seen this kind of market, which according to NAR is only 10% of us, which is terrifying. But the statistic from NAR is also that 90% of all real estate is sold by the same 10% of agents year over year over year. So that 10% of us, it's making it difficult for us because you're killing our comps and you're literally killing our property values. When I go on the market and you're reducing your price after 2 days by $50, $60, $70, $100,000, you're killing me. Like, you're literally killing your own market. It's crazy. I mean, just this morning, I got a text from clients who are planning on listing in the next couple weeks with the value that their neighbors say that they're going to list for. And I almost threw up in my mouth because it's so low. We talked previously on this show about, like, I also feel like, I guess I'm just in a ranty mood. I also feel like there's a certain organization that has trained their agents for many, many years to list artificially low on purpose in order to drive up the value, right? And that's been their tactic forever and ever and ever. But, we've talked on the show prior over the last 6 months that when there are no buyers in the market, which is really what we saw the last 6 months, it doesn't matter how low you price it, you're not going to end up with multiple offers, and you're not going to end up with an artificially higher price, regardless of if you price it $200,000, $300,000 too low. So I think there's a lot of agents out there that are still kind of leaning on that tactic too, which is like, oh, I'll just list it super low and it'll get multiple offers. Multiple offers is not normal. That literally only became a thing in the last 2 to 3 years. And when you go through what you just went through, which was mortgage loan applications, which by the way, we got a really good stat today, which I'll share, but mortgage loan applications going down almost 100%, meaning almost 100% of people stopped applying for mortgages. It does not matter if you list $1 million property for 500 grand. Nobody's going to buy it, and you just fuck the comps for the whole neighborhood for the rest of the year.
Yep. I don't think that what they're thinking about is, you know, if my seller needs to sell quickly, the only just wholesale it basically and sell it as cheaply as possible will come. That's not the tactic. The houses that are selling right now are the ones that look the best in that price point and that are staged and priced properly. And so if you want to sell your house, you just need to do those things and then wait it out.
Yeah, and wait 30 to 45 days. It could be up to 90 days right now that you could be on market, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong, right? We did see a really cool new statistic today, actually yesterday, that said that they estimate that mortgage loan applications are back up by 28%. So that's really good. That's like a quarter basically of people who are, feeling confident again in securing a mortgage. Rates are down a little bit. That's the other thing, for everyone who's standing up and shouting that the market's being caused by unusually high rates. That's the other thing. Like, to me, I think every real estate agent, and I'll put myself in that, bucket too all the time. We should all go back and spend a couple days, a couple hours looking at like historical real estate data. Do not look at the last 2 to 3 years. Look at, the market over a whole historically, because what you will find there again is that the abnormality, what was unusual, was having rates 2 to 3%. And does anybody even remember why that happened? We had gone through the biggest recession since the Great Depression. We were at war. And one of the levers that the government uses in order to stimulate the economy when the economy hard stops is lowering rates. You can't sit at 2 to 3% rates forever, because if something bad happens again, there's nowhere further to go, right? So rates have to come up for 700 million different reasons. There's so many reasons why interest rates cannot stay at 2 to 3%, but that is what was not normal.
Yeah.
This is normal. 6%, 5%, like historically it's still pretty damn low.
Yeah. No, I agree. Especially if you're, you have leverage right now, at least in our market you do. And you could potentially get your seller or the seller to, buy that down permanently. I mean, I don't understand why people think that like the sky is still falling. Like, I feel like it's fallen and now people are starting to become okay with it. And now buyers are starting to come back out and like peek out the door and say, okay, I feel like maybe it's a little bit safe now. Maybe we can come out and start looking again. And now I feel like those people are going to get really great deals on homes. And then probably in the next 4 months, you're going to, probably starting here in another like month and a half, you're going to start to see the prices creep back up.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think anybody has any perspective on what is normal. Like, let's say you're out in the dating world and you have a boyfriend who beats you up for a couple years. That can become kind of like your normal, but that's not what's actually normal. And then you dump him and you go back out in the world and you find someone who treats you really well and you realize that's what was not normal. That's kind of what it's been like the last few years. The only thing is it was like a super positive, not normal. And so I think people got really kind of like addicted to it. But again, like every real estate agent on planet Earth needs to go back and look at like historical data for periods of, go back and look to the 80s and see historically what the average interest rate was, what the average days on market was, right? Like we came out of not normal and now everybody's panicking. And like I said, I get it. It's very emotional. The clients are very stressed. There's big swings in money happening. both in their equity and in what they want to purchase. So I get that it feels out of control and scary, but it's pretty normal. I don't know that we're ever going to go back to what we saw the last 2 to 3 years again. What do you think?
I don't know that it'll be that extreme for sure. Ever. Because I don't think that that's healthy. And I think that people are putting their foot down and saying, well, if there's multiple offers, we're just not going to offer on it. We'll find another house. We're not willing to spend our entire life savings to buy a home. So the other thing that I'm seeing down here, which I don't know how much you guys do up there, is assumables. They're not working at all. Like no one's doing them. It doesn't seem like, because no one has the $100,000 to come out of pocket to make up that difference between what's owed and what the contract price is. So people aren't spending it. The people that are coming out of the woodwork now, the buyers that we have now, are not the ones with $100,000 in the bank. They're the ones that, decided to rent the last, year to get, they were in the market last year and they couldn't compete, and they still can't compete because they've been renting. So it's not like they could save anything. So those people don't have, the $30,000 to $100,000 to make up that difference. So those assumables are just not really as marketable as I think people thought they would be. So.
No, I agree 1,000,000% with you. And then first of all, I will say that I don't think I've seen a single agent up here in my market, which Angela and I are in 2 different metropolitan cities, about an hour apart from each other. For people that don't know, she's in Colorado Springs and I'm in Denver, but I'm not sure I've seen a single agent even offer one up here, which kind of blew my mind. But you're 1,000,000% right. That's such a niche product. I feel like assumables are for like 2008, right? Like when the market was really, really bad. Like that's when you start pulling out all these crazy different products to try to get things moving. And I also feel like most agents and lenders that I talk with are still telling people, oh, rates are going to drop back down into the 4s by, whatever point in 2023. And so people are kind of going like, well, then why would I spend $100,000, $200,000 up front to end up with a rate that I could get anyways if rates drop? And we're not sure rates are going to drop. So you got to be careful with that too. Yeah.
I would never promise people a rate drop. That's shocking to me. And I see it every day. And it makes me angry because I know these people are digging themselves a hole that they're not going to be able to dig out of. I feel like we thought that now we would start seeing those lawsuits. I think that it's probably going to be in 6 to 8 months that we're going to start seeing people suing their realtors for misinformation or lenders for misinformation. So
1,000,000%. You better have no insurance. Yeah, I mean, it just is frustrating to me. And I know I sound really ranty, but over the weekend, I have a girlfriend who is a long time client of mine. She's a close girlfriend. She was over for a girls' day, and she said to me 20 times, well, how is the real estate market? And I told her, and then she kept making comments about how awful it must be to be me because just nothing is selling and it's so horrible out there. And I finally looked at her in the face and said, don't feel bad for me because my listings are sitting on the market for 30 to 45 days because that's normal. And that's the actual job. And that's why real estate agents over history, like I said, go back and look at historical data, because the little period that you have is not enough data to go off of. That's why we've been paid very well, because we have handled very difficult situations, extremely protracted periods of sales for a long time. When you have houses that sit on the market 6 months to a year for years and years and years and years, and that becomes 100% normal, people will pay you whatever you ask to come in and help them get a property sold. And the other thing that I saw that really pissed me off, real bad. I was stewing over this for 3 days and I still am kind of, is an agent who made a post to her sphere, to whoever is her friend on Facebook. And she said she went on a listing presentation and was up against a couple other agents. And she pulled up those agent statistics on their days on market and presented to the seller that her properties are still selling within a week. And everyone else in the entire market is sitting on the market 30 to 60 days. So tell me what you're doing to your client's value if you're still selling in 1 to 2 weeks and every single other agent out of the thousands of agents that are in your market are selling in 30 to 60 days.
I mean, what is she doing that's different than everybody else? Is she massively underpricing it?
100%. She's massively underpricing it by $150,000, $200,000.
I mean,
So, sellers, if you're listening to this and you're a client, when did $150,000, $200,000 become not worth 30 days? It's bizarre. The amount of misinformation that's out there, I think, is terrifying right now.
Yeah, it is. I think there's a massive difference between realtors right now, between the people that have been in it for a while and have the systems and the discipline that the newer folks maybe don't have, or that knowledge that they don't have, because I'm seeing a huge difference right now in how listings are presented, how offers are being presented by both sides. And there's a really, really big, like, hard line between the quality of listings and what they look like for newer versus more veteran agents with more systems and more leverage. It just seems like all of a sudden cell phone photos are fine now, and we're not even gonna clean off countertops, and it's just like we forgot what we were supposed to do, and now it just doesn't matter. I don't know when that happened, but I want to say it was around Christmas.
Well, and I mean, I don't know. I never want to make some nasty assumption. But you know how I just said, sellers, if you're listening, when did $150,000 to $200,000, like a huge amount of money, become worth not waiting, another 30 days? But here's the thing, to a lot of real estate agents, it is that tight right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Colorado, they just released a statistic that said, in the last 3 months, we've had over almost 2,000 real estate agents hang up their licenses. I mean, we're number 3 in the entire United States for realtors that are getting out of the business. The numbers that NAR projects, I mean, I think they're projecting almost 40% of licensed real estate agents will just quit being real estate agents in the next 18 months. So for your realtor, it could be that important that the property sells in 1 to 2 weeks if they need a paycheck. So I almost hate to say this, but I think that people, if they're listing with an agent, should be saying to the agent, are you financially solvent enough to be able to market my listing the way it needs to be marketed and carry it for 90 days? Now, you never want to take on a client that's completely insane with their price and not motivated and will never price the property according to current market conditions and sell it. But on the flip side, the clients need to not be listing with agents who have to drop the price really, really quickly because they need to get paid. And that's happening, you guys. I'm telling you, the number of posts I see on a daily basis where agents are in these groups going, I have to get a paycheck. I have to get a paycheck. How do I get my seller to drop a price? Angela is right. You're going to get sued when they figure you out.
Yeah.
This is Patrick Ray. Patrick's my photographer. If you're in Colorado, he owns a company called Pixel Ray Photography, and he's literally the best. And he says, amen, cell phone photos, ridiculous. These are the times to stand out by using professional photography. Professional anything. Hi, Patrick.
Yeah. Anything, please.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I sound like a bitch. I need to back up. I hope, if you've listened to the show or you've known me a while, you know Angela, we have also been in situations where money is extremely tight and where second jobs become maybe more big possibility, right? We've been there, you guys. So it's not like we're holier than thou or trying to be nasty to people that are newer or that are struggling. We get that. We have literally been there before financially. But if you can't afford to do professional photography on a listing, you should not be taking the listing. And I'll tell you, when I started in this business, when I left REO, and it was like, I want to say 2008, 2009. So right in the middle of the Great Recession. And I was struggling financially 2010 because Kaylin was here. So I had a young son. I was a single mother, and I was in trouble financially trying to rebuild my real estate business. And I went to my broker and told my broker that I wanted to take this amazing listing. And he flat out said to me, do you have the money to market it the right way? And I said, no. And he said, then don't do it. Let it go to someone who can. If you don't have the money to spend for, professional photography, for ads, for back then it was the freaking newspaper, but whatever you need to do, then you should not take that. So when I came up in this business, and I know it's the same for Angela, you started as a buyer's agent. And then when you were skilled and financially solvent enough, you would move to listings. But if you can't, market a listing or borrow the money, which, I've done it. We've all done it. From somebody who can give you the money to market that listing, you have no business marketing it. Don't take it. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that you're going to start seeing a lot more co-lists with people maybe outside of a brokerage or outside of a team, because then you can pool your resources. If you don't have the money, if you can split it with somebody else, that's a great way to, maintain a listing and still be able to do it justice. But I think you're going to start seeing that more and more and more. That agents just would rather co-list it than just be the only listing agent.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't do the job, don't do the job, doing a disservice to your clients by putting out cell phone photos, again, in a market like we've seen the last 2 to 3 years, where, let's be very honest, real estate agents, I can see why the public said that they weren't worth what they were charging, because, it was so easy to just stick a sign in the yard and sell it for multiple offers very, very quickly. When you are not in a market like that, which is normal, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to figure out how to communicate with your clients on a very regular basis, and you're going to have to spend money to market a property. I mean, do you know the average that you spend to market your properties?
Well, so I go in and I do some renovations. So that costs me quite a bit up front because I don't ask for that until closing. But usually that renovation runs about $5,000 on the low end. And then between photography and professional staging and stuff, it's about $2,500 minimum.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's what I spend on my listings as well. I would say, okay, so during 2008, a lot of the stuff didn't exist. Like professional photography didn't even exist, by the way, until kind of further down the road. But I still spent more money then. You're always going to spend more money marketing a property when the market is more difficult, right? And so to go the opposite way and cheap out and just do cell phone photos and nothing else is really a disservice to your clients. And, I know that you said that agents are going to start getting sued. We've talked about that for years here on the show, that you have legal liability for what you do and don't do for your clients. I wish that the public would care. That's what I don't get, is who are the people that let these agents get away with cell phone photos and $100,000 price reduction 3 days after listing?
I think those are the people that are probably happy that the agent took a massive commission reduction, and they don't see what that equates to up front. They don't see how their house is being marketed because it's not being marketed anywhere they can see it. So I think that that's part of the problem, is they just don't know until somebody tells them, hey, just so you know, you guys sold that house for $200,000 less than we did. We're your neighbor 2 doors down, and we just sold ours 2 weeks ago. I don't know why you guys took a $200,000 price hit, but that sucks, guys. I mean, I think you're going to start seeing that.
Yeah. I mean, when you're going on the market and you're not even waiting, if anyone is watching who's been in real estate a really long time, I have a legitimate question. Does anybody know why average days on market even started to be counted? And you hear that all the time now, average days on market, average days on market. They started counting it so that you knew when to make a price reduction. Like literally. Because if you were above the average time that it takes to sell a property, then there's something wrong with your property. It's either your price too high or your property looks like shit, period. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And if your property looks like shit, you can always overcome that by one thing only, which is pricing correctly. So the only reason that metric even became looked at as a metric is because people needed to know at what point a price reduction was appropriate. So if you are not sitting on the market for average days on market before you're reducing the price, like get out. And I get it. Like in my area right now, average days on market is 51 days. And that seems real scary when the last 2 to 3 years, average days on market was 1.2 days. But if you cannot figure out how to stay with your clients for 51 days, up to 90 days while their listing is on the market, don't list. Go work with buyers. And if you can't figure out how to do the right things and spend the money that it's going to take to get that property sold, even if it takes 90 days, don't list. Go work with buyers.
Yeah. And, you know, if you're on the cusp and you have to take the listing, there's no one else. You can always co-list it with someone and talk to some of your trades that you work with and see if you can work something out. Instead of on the staging side of things for my staging business, I'm not expecting payment up front from anyone for the entire amount. I'm taking half up front and then half at closing. So I'm carrying some of the risk too. And you can do that with all of your vendors. If that helps you, certainly do that. Leverage those things. But remember to pay them. That would be great.
My photographer is watching. My sister passed away over the summer, and I had a situation where I was not paying attention to what was going on because I was in a really bad place. And Patrick was like, yo, you have to pay me for this photo shoot. But he was very nice and said, if there's stuff going on financially, I'm happy to wait or take a partial payment. And that wasn't the case for me. But my point behind that is Angela's 1,000% right. Go to your vendors and say to them, I can't pay for the extras that, the drone photography or the whatever, the floor plan, the Zillow 3D tour right now, but I could pay you at closing, or go to your stager and ask the same thing. And I mean, Angela, have you ever borrowed money in your career before to get stuff done on listing a property? Absolutely. I also think that agents are completely unaware of the fact that sometimes you have to financially invest in your business. And sometimes that can mean taking a loan, bringing in capital from an investor. I mean, we do run businesses, right? You can't just give shitty service, to your clients because you don't have the money. Again, go be a buyer's agent. And I don't mean that to say you're not skilled. I'm just saying you don't have to come to the table with all that money. The only thing that you have to do when you're working with buyers is put gas in the car. And that's why all those years ago, my broker said, if you can't do what it takes to list correctly, then you're not ready to be a listing agent.
It took me a long time to start listing houses. I only started listing houses, not even that long ago. Like Lindsay was like, why aren't you listing houses? Why are you just a buyer's agent? Because I was like killing myself working with buyers all day. And finally I made the switch. But a lot of it for me was confidence, because I didn't have that confidence to all of a sudden break into the listing side because I'd never done it before. So that was really hard for me, but now that's pretty much all I do is work with sellers. But we do have the occasional buyers, and right now we got kind of inundated with them, which is great. But all of a sudden we had 5 buyers all at once this week. So that's exciting. It means people are coming back out.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick, thank you. He put his contact info in the notes. Again, if you guys are in Colorado and looking for a super amazing photographer, he's the best. The vendors might be struggling right now too, right? Some of the photography companies may not be shooting as much. Some of the stagers may not be staging as much. So there really might be opportunities for you to go to your vendors and just say, hey, how can we link arms and continue to do the things that we need to do so we all stay in business, right?
Right.
It's changed for everybody. Patrick even says, yes, it's tougher now, right? So it's changed for everybody. I don't think that we're heading towards 2008. Although I will say, I did find it really interesting that Wells Fargo announced that they're pulling back completely from underwriting new mortgage loans. So that is quite interesting. They've stated that they're just going to continue to service the mortgages that they have currently, and then they're going to continue doing, banking and kind of credit cards and things like that. But that is something that we did see the major banks do during the recession, pull back from what they feel is high risk investments, which is mortgages. If people are going to foreclose, that becomes very high risk. So that was an interesting thing to see, especially on the same day that they announced that new loan applications are up 28%.
Right. I think the other thing that you're going to see right now more often than normal is you're going to see people moving brokerages, not just agents, but you're going to see a lot of it happening with the lender world too. I swear to God, I've seen one person move to 4 different companies in 3 months. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And that's a really big red flag for me.
Going to where they provide leads would be my, yeah.
Right. If you're going after somebody that's guaranteeing you leads, that's never going to end well for anybody. So you have to learn how to cultivate those on your own. Otherwise, you're going to be a prisoner to that system forever, or until you find another company that promises you something better. But I think that you're going to start seeing that as a big thing that happens. People moving often, greener grass.
Yeah, or they're not doing what they should be doing, and so they don't get to stay where they are. That happens more in the mortgage world.
Yeah, or the mortgage company
off. Yeah, real estate agents don't get laid off. That doesn't. Although I was having a conversation with someone yesterday. Brokerages are laying people off, so we know that. We know that in the last couple of months, we've seen a few of the big major national boxes lay off a large portion of their staff. Some laid off like a very large portion of their staff. I was talking to someone yesterday who was telling me that their brokerage, which is a big national shop, laid off like half of their corporate employees, and they're telling everybody that they just all quit. So I'm lying about it. But yeah, I mean, you should also be making sure that your brokerage isn't skimping on the services that they're supposed to give you because of what's happening in the market, because that can happen too, right? If you're on a team, your team lead may need to lower the lead flow. If you're in a brokerage, they may stop paying for certain technologies or things for you. So, I mean, that's a super good point. Like, make sure you stay in a place where you're getting what you need, because you choose your brokerage and you're paying them for that.
Yep. I think that's definitely a big thing that's happening right now.
I don't know how to even comment on what I think happens next in the market. I agree with you 1,000,000% what you said in the beginning, that we're just hitting our selling season. Yeah. And, again, historically, data shows that we will have a strong spring selling season. I think the strong spring selling season is going to look like what is normal historically and not what we saw the last 2 to 3 years.
Right.
But I think it will feel dramatically better than the last half of 2022, just because things will, you're going to see people, like, it's not going to feel like a ghost town as much. I think that the agents that were working through this and managed to get over the fear and the paralysis of the change are going to be pretty busy this year. I think the one thing, again, historically, my biggest wish is that every agent who listens to this goes back and looks at historical real estate data. The one thing we've never seen before ever is the inventory levels, right? We have never seen the United States still be millions of housing units short across the country. We've never seen inventory be so lean. I've heard agents the last couple of weeks saying, well, there's so much more inventory on the market. That's not true. I ran the numbers from last January to this January. It's within a few houses. We still have zero inventory. So again, don't make don't talk out your uneducated ass. And I say that to myself too. Like, I will never, if you're my client, they probably get really frustrated with me because they're like, what do we do with the price? And I'm like, hang on, I can't change anything because I have to go research it first, right? Like, I won't even say anything without looking at information so that I can make an educated statement. But we've never had inventory this low ever. So I don't see how. I think most people are betting that rates will go down and that will cause the market to pop back up. I think what will happen is it will just normalize. People will realize that 5 to 7% is pretty normal and they'll start buying again.
Yep.
And
I think it drops under 5 that people will all of a sudden come out of the woodwork in droves, even if it's 4.95. Gas. It's like gas. Like right now, it's like hovering right under 4, so people aren't freaking out. But the second that number starts with a 4, people are gonna flip a lid.
Well, yeah, 1,000,000%. And then what happens is really unfortunate, and that's you go right back to where you were before, and every single real estate agent comes back into the market, and every single buyer starts buying again, which I don't get because I think we just saw the best buyer's market that I've seen in 21 years over the last 6 months. I cannot believe the deals that I literally felt like I was robbing people. I felt bad about it because it'd been a long time since I'd been able to negotiate. And I don't think I've ever negotiated that hard. And it was literally just like, give me this. And the other agent would be like, okay. And then I'd say, give me this. And the other agent would go, okay. So I think people that bought in the last 6 months stole houses.
Yeah, I agree.
And Angela made an interesting comment, about a post that compared last January to this January, and how last January we were saying, if you're going to sell, you better get on it because this year is going to be absolutely bonkers, which was correct. I still feel like the sentiment right now is if you're going to buy, you should buy right now.
Yeah.
Because you could still get a good deal.
I feel like you're maybe like a month away from rates going up a little bit more and prices going up a little bit more. And I don't mean like a lot, but maybe like a quarter point, they're going to go up probably.
They've announced it. Yeah, they're planning to increase rates, right?
And I think that prices are going to go up, another $10,000, $20,000 from what they are now. So you might as well get more for your money now. Don't wait.
Well, yeah, because buyers, think about it this way. If you're a buyer and you're listening, you have had the wool over every seller in the United States' eyes for the last 6 months, and you've been ruling the show because of everything we just talked about. You've got agents telling, their clients that this is terrifying because houses are sitting on the market 30 to 90 days. You got the news telling people that. Everybody's talking about it. It's every headline on planet Earth. And the sellers were panicking so hard that they were just like, oh yeah, we'll price super low or we'll drop the price. Think about the second that every seller on planet Earth realizes, if I just hang tight another month, I can make 2, 3, 5, 10% more.
Yeah.
No one is going to do those panic price reductions. Nobody is going to artificially list below on purpose, right? It's that whole rising tide raises all boats. A tide that goes out lowers all boats, and the flat ocean, everybody just stays. Nobody's panicking. And I think that's what you're saying. That's what we're heading towards, is people are going to decide not to make crazy ass financial decisions and give up all their equity because they're afraid, because it will become more normal.
Right. I don't know if you guys have seen this up where you live, but down here, the amount of apartment complexes that I have seen is ridiculous. There are apartment complexes going up all over town. And in a town where we have water rights issues, we don't have nearly enough, supposedly. Why in the hell are we having hundreds of thousands of apartments being built? Why are people okay with paying $2,800 or $3,500 a month for a freaking 2-bedroom apartment, but you're afraid of owning a home? Why? Why is this? Obviously people are doing it.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of reasons for it. Probably, I think people are grossly uneducated on what it takes to buy a home and what it takes to own a home. I think a lot of it is just fear. Like, do you know how many real estate agents that I saw?
Yeah.
Like, do you know, like, if I had one magical power in the entire world, it would be that this pen became a magical wand and it would go on Facebook and make every one of these posts public so everybody's clients could see it. Because it blows my mind. And if people's clients could see what these agents say behind closed doors, woo! But do you know how many posts from agents I've seen where agents were like, I'm not going to buy this year. I'm just going to rent. Or I'm going to sell my property and rent for the next 5 years. Like, are you kidding me? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And everyone who knows what to do in a market like this right now is investing.
Right.
How many
Investors are getting crazy good deals.
I was going to say, how many investors have you seen out there in the last couple of weeks that are like,
They're everywhere.
Who has property? They're all buying.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But I feel like the ones that are out there buying are borderline predatory, in my opinion. They're always having those posts like, have you not made your payment this month? I'll come in and take all your equity. It's like, I've seen that a lot. Like
I do
think people here that do that.
No, you're so right. And you just made me think of something I actually haven't thought of before lately, which is I do think that every agent probably needs to go take a class on short sales and foreclosures. Yeah. Because I do think that unfortunately we will see some lingering kind of like forbearance stuff, COVID stuff, and even the last 6 months hurt people. And so I think that agents are going to need to know how to handle those situations for sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, all the people that bought 6 months to a year ago that are all now like, I want to sell my house now. It's not really what I wanted. You're not moving right now without having a massive deficit. Like, that's just not going to happen. I don't recommend that you sell. I recommend that you wait, or you're going to have a short sale. And by the time the short sale's done, you probably could have sold it for at least even what you owe, because it takes forever.
Yes. And if NAR says that, National Association of Realtors says that 90% of all agents have never worked in a market with rates above 4%, where houses sit on the market longer than 30 days, those 90% of agents sure as hell know nothing about how to help people with a short sale, know nothing about how to save people if they're going into foreclosure. So,
yeah.
I mean, we've been saying this, you said this, and I've been repeating it back for like 6 months now. When you have time, because things are slower, go get educated. It's a blessing that you have the time that you haven't had over the last couple of years to, go take classes, dig in, get certified in how to do a short sale or what a foreclosure is, get ready to be able to help people. It's going to be the educated realtors that survive this.
Yeah. I think that those short sale solution companies are going to start popping back up here pretty quick.
Actually, now that you say it, I think the girl that I used to do all my short sales with back in the day actually made a post about it the other day. What you're saying.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're headed towards 2008. I think that the inventory levels will continue to keep that from happening. I think we may have just seen the worst of it. I will say never in my entire career have I ever heard of every buyer in the entire United States just going like, whoop, not going to buy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's ever happened before. I mean, during a big recession, yeah, there are less buyers on the table, but I've never seen every buyer on the table walk away, right?
Right.
So I think we may have just been through the worst of it. I think that people are going to wrap their heads around the new normal and things are going to normalize. And I don't think you're going to see big anything either way. I don't think you're going to see big over asking. I don't think you're going to see big under asking. I don't think you're going to see big multiple offers. I don't think you're going to see big swings where sellers just drop the crap out of their price. I don't think you're going to see either.
No, I think it's going to be right around asking price with $5,000, $10,000 concessions.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty flat year, which is normal. Go look at historical real estate data. Normal. A normal market is houses sitting 30 to 90 days where some concessions happen from the seller, some repairs are done by the seller.
Yeah. I do want to say one thing. It seems like there are another two different types of realtors right now. The ones that are still really busy and the ones that are just paralyzed by the market. And those are the ones that I'm talking to right now. You guys have to be really honest about what you're doing every day for lead gen, because it's not going to be handed to you. That's not how life works. You have to go out there and get it and be really honest about the amount of effort you're putting in to that lead gen, and how you're using your time, because that's the big difference between the two realtors. You can very easily be the one that's busy. You just have to do the things that you know you have to do. So I've just seen a lot of that lately.
I feel like maybe we should do an episode on what is lead generation. And I know that sounds like really stupid. But I literally feel like a lot of people don't know what that is. So I know I've said this statistic 90 billion times, but if National Association of Realtors says 90% of agents don't know how to lead generate, that's what they're saying in that statistic, right?
Yeah.
90% of agents have worked in a market where clients just come out of the woodwork. That's what that statistic says. So they don't know how to lead generate. And I think no one is willing to raise their hand and say that. I think agents are terrified to say that, because I get it. That's a hard thing to say. I don't even think, outside of 1 or 2 classes that I've seen, brokerages have been teaching people how to lead generate for years and years. So, I can see how people don't know that.
Right.
Like, they probably all know how to do an open house, but outside of that, I don't think anyone is willing to raise their hand and be like, I don't know what else to do. So maybe next week we have an amazing guest. Maybe the week following we can do an episode on like all the ways that we can possibly think of to lead generate, because I don't think people know.
No, I agree. Yeah, I was planning on teaching that today at my sales meeting for my brokerage. So
you could teach it to us. But and then I feel like the other, the crazy thing about that statistic from NAR, it says 2 things, right? It shows the agents that are on the playing field right now, but it also really shows a lot about time and how long agents have been in the market. Because if you're part of that 90%, we know exactly how long you've been a real estate agent. If you're not part of that 90%, then we also know how long you've been an agent. If you're part of the 10% that we know, because of that statistic, has been an agent in different kinds of markets, they probably don't know how to lead generate either, because the world has changed so much since then. I mean, since 2008, which this is not, how much have things changed? Facebook wasn't even around.
Right. I mean, social media is so huge, and if you don't understand it and you're not using it, you are missing out massively. And I think that that's something you have to be consistent with it. That's something that I think that's where people are missing right now. Like they're not getting it. They're not even trying to get it. I don't get TikTok, but I'm trying. And I'm at least hiring people that do know what they're doing with TikTok. But I think that's a place where agents are really missing out on a ton of business. That's where people are looking you up, and it's across all ages. I had somebody look me up yesterday that is probably like late 50s, and she looked me up on Instagram, and I was shocked. I was like, oh shit, she's on Instagram? Okay. So she wanted to see what I was posting on Instagram, and she was a design client, and I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. So people are using social media. Like they're checking you out. So
absolutely.
Be consistent and at least post something about real estate every once in a while. It doesn't have to all be real estate, because that's boring, but be consistent about what you're posting, and at least pepper in there that you are a realtor. But stay communicative with people, like stay in contact, because that's where your referrals come from.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think we have to teach how to lead generate right now, because the other thing that I've seen is a lot of posts, and a lot of people that I know personally either going to their team leader or making anonymous. Man, Facebook messed up with that anonymous posting thing. Like I said, I wish I could magic wand everything public, because it drives me crazy. But I've seen so many people anonymously posting, my team leader has shut off the leads, or the leads are getting less and less. It may be the case for some team leaders and some brokerages. And if that's the case, like we said earlier, move. But actually what's really happening is the lead flow is just down, period. Again, when you have almost 100% of buyers for the first time really ever in history, just like stop. They're not on Zillow. They're not on realtor.com. They're not on your website. They're not Googling things, right? The leads aren't coming into anywhere, right? Like the funnels of leads are empty. And so most of the time, the answer is really your team leader, your brokerage is still spending the same amount of money to bring those leads in. There's just fewer leads. And the leads that are coming down through the funnel probably are crappier quality, right? So again, when Angela and I started, like I wasn't joking earlier when I said newspaper, like you advertise in the newspaper. Social media didn't exist. Zillow did not exist. Realtor.com did not exist. All of these lead generating platforms did not exist. And that's kind of what we've seen the last 6 months is almost like a return to analog.
Right.
How do you generate clients when the freaking internet isn't working and the leads aren't bringing them to you?
You have to get back out and cultivate. You have to get out and work.
No one knows.
People in the street. Like that's what you need to do. Unfortunately, I haven't seen a single door knocker in my neighborhood in like a year. I swear to God, I haven't seen them. Not even like the Latter-day Saints. Like they're not even rolling around. Like where is everybody?
I don't know, but I really think that people don't know how to generate leads. So I think we just landed on a cool topic that we can maybe do in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Is what is actual lead generation? But
yep.
I don't think it's super doom and gloom. I think that I actually think it's going to be a great year.
I do
if
too.
you can wrap your head around the fact that you're going to have to work harder, your listings are going to stay on the market for longer, you're probably going to need to spend less money. You might need to trade your fancy car for something a little more practical. Sadly for me, you might not get to DoorDash 7 nights a week, you got to go back to balling out a little bit less maybe, but I think it's going to be a good year.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it comes down to your mindset, which is super important. Like you can either use this time to capitalize on things and cultivate more clients and grow your business and learn new systems and implement them, or you can just not. And it comes down to how healthy are you up here? Like
100%.
Yeah.
I'm going to write in the comments a couple things that I think we think are really important to do this month. I would say number one is look at historical real estate data outside of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Take a class, right? Educate yourself. What else do you think, Angela?
Short sale solutions are important to learn. Make sure that your lenders are solid, that they're with a company that's not going anywhere. Look at real hard in the mirror and figure out, like, if you're being honest with yourself about how much work you're putting in every day to grow your lead sources.
Yeah. And then learn what lead generation is, right?
Yeah. Figure out what works best for you.
Yeah. I think that is a good recap. Learn what lead generation is, right?
Yeah. And apparently, find a very professional photographer.
Yes. Go to your vendors and see who can help you so that you can continue to stay in business. And if you need help, don't be ashamed.
No, just ask.
Yes. All right, guys. We love you. And we will see you next Tuesday. We have a great guest next Tuesday. And then I think we're going to have Angela teach us how to lead generate.
No, you're going to teach us. We're both going to teach us.
You're way more aggressive in a good way. You probably have a million different ways to lead generate that I never even thought of. So
we'll give you a lot of ways between Lindsay and I to lead generate. So
yeah, including all the crazy ways that we used to do it during the big recession before the internet existed. We sound so old.
I know. Way back in 2008.
Exactly. All right, guys, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Angela and Lindsay would love to receive your real estate referrals in Colorado. Connect with the Homegirls on social media at The Real Homegirls Podcast.